Hi, it's Beth again, and welcome to week 5 of our Summer Reading Crafts How-To series. This week we're going to be talking about cross stitch. So I'm going to just show you guys just a few of the basics, and what we'll have for you at the library this week is you can either try the bookmarks, or we have a couple things that they're not pre-printed, they're still a counted cross stitch, but they're a little bit easier because you don't have to worry about separating the yarn, and the holes are a little bit bigger on the plastic part of your canvas. But we're going to just show you how to do the cross stitches themselves. So what you want to start out with is your embroidery hoop. Of course, you're not going to need that with the plastic thing. And unfortunately, we were not able to provide everybody with embroidery hoops, but they're fairly cheap at Walmart. So what you want to do is just start, and with the bookmarks themselves, they're small enough that you may not even need a embroidery hoop, honestly, but I'm kind of used to it. So we're going to start out by fitting it in there tight as we can get it stretched, and just tightening that on there. And then we want to take our embroidery floss, and you don't want to go too short or you'll be replacing it every 5 minutes, but you don't want to go too long or it's going to get caught, it's going to get tangled, it's going to knot as you're going through. So each strand of embroidery floss is going to have at least 6 strands to it, and what you want to start out with is taking 2 and pulling them apart slowly, because it can get tangled very easy like it's trying to there. So you just want to slowly start to separate it. Just pulling very close to until you have your 2 strands that you're actually going to cross stitch with. So you want to go ahead and take that and take your needle, and sometimes it can be hard to thread the needle, but I find pinching it really tight, the thread between your finger and your thumb, and then just leading your needle over it works really well for me. And I've come to learn that if you take and just make one little knot at the very beginning so that it won't pull out of your needle, that helps me with not having to rethread it so much. So I'm going to show you how you want to start your cross stitch, because you don't want to make any knots on the back of it or it's going to it'll show. So how we want to start is from usually the center. I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now because this is just an example. We're going to start with our first row, and we're going to pull until we have about that much left. You could leave more, you could leave less if you want, but I'm going to start at the bottom of my X that I want to make and go up and to the right and pull all the way through, making sure not to pull that little tail through. So we still have some there, and what we want to do to go back is tuck that tail into our next stitch. So it may be a little hard to see here, but I'll show you once we've pulled it through what it looks like. So now you see we've gone down just below where we went back in the last time, and that has tucked it in. It's not going to come loose now. You can sew it in a couple more times if it makes you feel comfortable, but it should stay just like that. And there's your very first X. And then you just continue like that across as far as you're going to go. I'm going to do a little heart. So I'm going to skip one. And it's easier if you're making a bigger pattern to work downwards than it is to work up. Either way will work, but I've always found it easier to work going down. So just and there we go, just a tiny, tiny, itty bitty little heart. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is how to do a back stitch. With a back stitch, you want to use just one strand. And say we want to start and this be our first line with the back stitch. What you want to do is you actually want to come up on the top part of it, because for a back stitch we're going backwards. So then you come forward one and you just keep going in whichever direction, however the pattern says for it to go. Like if it said to come up here next, we're going to go like that. And that is the back stitch. Super easy. So if you're ever looking at a pattern, a cross stitch pattern, and you see where they have these whole squares darkened in, that's where you're doing your full X. And each little square on your pattern is one X. But if you see them as a straight bold line like that, that is a back stitch. And again, every square on the pattern is just one square on your Aida cloth, which is what this kind of cloth is called. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but you know. So now I'm going to show you guys how to finish off the back of the project. Go. Okay, so to show you how to finish it off, I just did a little diamond, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn over to the back of it, and this is super easy. Sometimes it's a little hard to pull through, but you just want to go through a couple of your stitches and pull it through. And I like to do it twice. It doesn't make it too bulky or anything usually. It just makes it a little more secure, and then you just try not to get it too close so you don't cut any of your stitches, but there you go. And now I'm also going to show you how to finish the edges of it so that none of this frays, because it will fray a little bit. So we're just going to show you how to keep it from doing that. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and you don't have to do it this way with your bookmarks, but what I'm going to do is so nobody can see the, ugly unfinished side of it, I'm going to take my two bookmarks and put them together, wrong sides together, so that when they're finished, you'll only be able to see the pretty side. So now usually if you're doing something with the hoop, it's going to leave this wrinkle and you'll want to iron that out, but I'm not going to do that right now just for the purposes of the demonstration. So you want to try to line it up, and if it's one side's a little bigger than the other, you can just trim it off. The great thing about Aida cloth is where it is in a grid, it helps you cut a straight line really well. So I'm just going to go through and match the holes on each side, and I'm going to pull a good bit of it through, and then I'm going to pull through the next little hole, and once I get to about here, I'm going to take and come from the underside of the little loop that I've got and pull my thread up, and that will keep it from unraveling, and it will keep both sides together. So I'm just going to continue to do that from the bottom, and you just continue all the way around until you get back to the beginning, and then you can tie it off and you'll be all done. Okay, and once you've got your two sides of your bookmarks on together, I'm going to make a tassel for mine. So I'm just going to take some of my leftover embroidery floss and just wrap it around my fingers like this. And I'm going to mix the colors just for a little bit of extra added fun. So I'm just going to wrap it around like this. And I'm going to take another piece, and I'm going to tie the tops together. Just like that. And then I'm going to use the shorter side to just wrap it around and make it look more like a tassel. So, and then you can use, you know, just a piece of, just a little bit of glue to secure it there. And then take your scissors and there you've got a nice little tassel, and you can use this part to sew it to the top of your bookmark, and there you go. You'll have a nice bookmark with a pretty little tassel. Alright, so that's our cross-stitch bookmark. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have fun making your bookmarks, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.